Hi everybody. I'm Indranil. I'll be moderating this panel. I'm from Shiprocket. I take care of the supply chain operations out here, and very warm welcome to this webinar. We have a very august panel out here. Let me just give a brief introduction of the panel. We have Ankush. Ankush. Yeah. So we have Ankush. He's a co-founder in Adyogi. We have Siddhant. He leads the India team in Shopify. We have Kapil, who is the CEO of Unicommerce, which is again a ERP WMS platform. Raja, who is the SVP and head of the fulfillment in Delhivery out there. So a very warm welcome to everybody out there in the team. So if you could take a few minutes of your time and just give a brief introduction of yourself.
Sure, absolutely. Do you want me to jump in?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Looking forward to today's panel. My name is Siddhant. I've been with Shopify for a couple of years. I lead the India team. We've seen, I just want to call out, it is a very difficult time right now. Hope you're all staying safe and healthy. And I wish, the same for you and your loved ones. Today's topic is great. I'm really looking forward to how fulfillment will be a key differentiator in the next few years when it comes to direct-to-consumer brands, and especially talk about some of the things we're seeing with our merchants. So, yeah. Pass it on to you, Kapil.
Thanks, Siddhant. I echo Siddhant's sentiments. I think it's a very tough time out there. So hope everyone is doing safe and keeping the distance and taking good care of their loved ones. And hope we are able to get past this very soon. I think today's session, again, very excited about the session today. Just a brief introduction about myself. I head a company called Unicommerce. It's a e-commerce focused supply chain SaaS solution. We are the largest enabler right now in India, cater to almost 20% of India's e-commerce transactions, and have got some view on how the fulfillment is happening on the overall ecosystem, both the second wave and currently what's happening. So it would be great to share and learn from the panelists as well about how one or two-day delivery is becoming important, particularly in these uncertain times.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Raja Ganesh. I head the fulfillment and the enterprise business at Delhivery. Delhivery, as you all know, is one of the largest shipping companies or logistics companies in the market. So I specifically work with brands or enterprises on their end-to-end fulfillment or supply chain needs. And interestingly, in the last year or so, this whole concept of direct-to-consumer has picked up in a big way with a lot of brands, right? So I'm leading that initiative as well at Delhivery. So in this session, I'm very glad to be part of this session. Thanks to Shiprocket for inviting such a diverse panel for this discussion. I'm looking forward to share, my perspectives on behalf of Delhivery in terms of, how we power some of these one-day, two-day shipment fulfillment models, and what is out there for sellers in this, right? And look forward to also learn from my co-panelists.
Thanks a lot, Anshuk.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Anshuk. I am one of the co-founders of Adyogi. Adyogi is a marketing automation platform. We currently work with around 200 plus brands in helping them scale using Facebook and Google Ads. So today, very happy to be a part of this panel. I think it's a difficult time for all of us. One question which I often come across from a lot of people is, should they continue their marketing efforts during the COVID crisis? So I will be able to share some pointers to that. And of course, one-day, two-day deliveries does have a very positive impact on the marketing as well. Very happy to talk about that as well. Thank you, Shiprocket, for this webinar. Over to you, Indranil.
Thanks a lot, everybody. And so, so quickly coming to the theme of our webinar, right? So it's fulfillment based and it's specific to one and two-day deliveries. And of late, as everybody has acknowledged, right, because of these trying times of COVID, 1 day and 2 day deliveries of essential items is very, very important. A lot of states are going for lockdown, and a lot of people are going online to purchase essential goods. And essentials could be anything, right? Essentials could be as essential as a very life-saving medicine to anything which is enabling the fight against the COVID thing. So and to the daily needs kind of a thing, pet foods, kitchen items, FMCG goods, everything. So what are the enablers? Today we will be discussing what are the enablers for a 1 to 2 day delivery from a technology point of view. I suppose we have a couple out there who can throw some great insights in how technology enables the back end of 1 and 2 day deliveries. We have Raja to tell us about from the ops background how are they enabling 1 and 2 day deliveries out there, and we will discuss how brands would use uh, this strategy to break into the new markets out there and gain new customers. So quickly coming to the opening questions of the day. So it's like, what are the challenges faced by sellers when they fulfill their e-commerce orders themselves, and how outsourcing of orders, right? So we have a lot of D2C brands which are coming in India, and we suppose those brands are more product focused because and their main theme is to develop the product and gain as much customer as they need, right, as they grow, and they are not people who are specializing in the supply chain part of it, the operations part of it, and the technology in the supply chain part of it. So they want to give it to the specialist out there, and you are the specialist. So if you could guide them in terms of how they can outsource it, and what are the benefits of outsourcing the complete stack, and the stack that we are talking about, the fulfillment part of it. I would ask Kapil to throw some light, and then as I take it to the other panelists.
Sure. So let me talk about the first part, which is the challenges faced. I think you're right. I think and Raja also mentioned in the beginning that there have been a plethora of D2C brand launches in the last couple of years, and it's a healthy sign for the ecosystem because there is a need in the market for different brands, and there are niches that are being identified by these upcoming brands. But as Indranil that you rightly pointed out, supply chain is not their forte. We've got classic examples of brands like Boat, Mamaearth, etc., who focused with their consistent focus on branding and marketing efforts. They've been able to build large brands, and they've outsourced their supply chain operations so that they can completely focus on their brands. We work with many D2C brands who have decided to either do it on their own or have outsourced. So we partner with those. Some of the challenges that we've come across is obviously one is inventory visibility itself. On the website, there are so many situations when a customer orders ultimately to realize that the product is out of stock, leading to cancellation. So marketplaces still have high penalties, etc. They have got enough processes in place to ensure that the sellers don't falter there. But on their own website, it becomes very important that they have full inventory visibility. I know many D2C brands who continue to do this on Excel and not implement automation, then struggle with those metrics, and ultimately resulting in brand being impacted. So they start very well, then the fulfillment starts to suffer, and then the experience suffers, and then they see a decline, and then they further reinvest in these processes. Second itself, on the shipping itself, which logistics providers to tie up with. Delhivery obviously is the largest one, so they have the highest coverage, but there are some specific functionalities that they would need, and there are many niche logistics players that are available. So which one they should tie up with, that decision becomes a challenge. So technology can help play a role in all of these, doing inventory management, warehouse processes. So once the order comes in, how do you do pick path optimization, make sure that they're able to stick to those 1 day, 2 day delivery times, identify priority orders, segregate orders by logistics providers. There are so many nuances that are there in e-commerce fulfillment that standard of the shelf processes may not be relevant, and technology can play role in all these. At least we are exposed to the order management, inventory management, warehouse management, and logistics management, all four are critical components of fulfillment. So we've seen D2C brands face challenges in all four, and technology can help enable this. So for order management, technology can help you decide which warehouse is actually the right suited one to fulfill the customer order. So because it's an era of omni-channel. So if you have a right order allocation engine, you can decide which is the warehouse or the store from which you can do the next day delivery or same day delivery. Inventory management, you can real time publish inventory of all your stocking points to your website so that you can get maximum demand. Warehouse management, as I said, you will need to segregate orders as per the logistics providers by location of dispatches, by time slots that marketplaces have given. So doing wave picking basis these different heuristics, whether it's segregating by logistics or others, and similarly using algorithms to find out the optimal logistics providers, which Shiprocket also does very well. So and that way, Unicommerce is sort of the central system which integrates with all these systems, provides these functionalities, because of which a lot of our sellers are able to meet the 1 day, 2 day delivery, at least for priority orders. And with the current times, it becomes even all the more relevant, particularly for essential supplies, as we were discussing. So I think these are some of the things that we have seen where some of the challenges faced and how actually technology can help them. And the brands, the large brands that I quoted, they have outsourced these operations. And because the outsourced players are able to do this on their own and at scale, they have the right processes in place in terms of inventory, warehousing, the tech stack being implemented. They are able to help the brand achieve these SLAs. With economies of scale, it also tends to be more cost effective. Initially, it may look a bit expensive, but probably it's the right investment to do in case the founders do not have an ops DNA. I always recommend all the D2C brands that we should outsource because that is something that's best taken care of by the experts. Those were my 2 cents on this topic.
Sure. Before I come to Raja from an ops perspective, what would be your Anshuk and Anshuk's thought about from a customer point of view? Why should they be using fulfillment and outsourcing to a specialist as support from brand perspective?
Correct, absolutely. So I think a couple of things which I think any brand should understand. Number one, I feel that to run an end-to-end DTC brand, there are a lot of capabilities which are required, right? You need to be like, you need to understand marketing, you need to understand logistics, fulfillment, warehousing. It's very hard. I interact with a lot of founders and I've seen that it's very hard for the founders to have expertise in all of them, right? And typically, even if you're able to start in-house, the moment you want to scale, you always want to get the experts in. So what I've usually seen is when I interact with brands who have just started first 6 months, they try to do a lot of this in-house. But the moment they get past their first, let's say 100 or 500 orders, they typically find it more valuable to give it to the experts. And that includes delivery and logistics. Because increasingly, it's also becoming one of the core for any brand. People now expect faster delivery times. This is the time of Amazon and Flipkart, which is why I think it's important for them to meet those expectations on their own DTC website also.
Cool. And Siddharth, what would be your thought on it, right? Why should a D2C brand outsource it to a third party?
I think Indraneel, we have a very good set of panelists. I think some of them already covered it, but I'll just sum it up by saying, for me, like the most important thing for a brand to do is to focus, and by focusing, that means doing less and doing what really is their own infinite game, right? Like in life, there are infinite games and finite games, and infinite games is your purpose, your true North Star, right? And for a brand, that is to build an excellent product and to be able to reach their customers, right? And connect with them, basically, right? The fulfillment, the ops, these are generally high investment, high economies of scale businesses, which are best left to the experts, when it comes to D2C brands. So I always feel focus on what you do, right? What you do best, and you will win the game as a brand. So that's my input.
Got it. So coming to Raja, right? So you must be interacting with a lot of D2C brands coming to you and asking specific question with respect to their needs, right? And I suppose there is a performance aspect of it, and then there is a cost aspect of it. You have an economies of scale, they may not have an economies of scale. So what would be their top 3 requirement when they come to a specialist like you for outsourcing their fulfillment needs?
Sure. So before I answer that question, I think just to add, I completely agree with all the points that were made by Kapil, Anshuk, and Siddhant, right? I think first and foremost, before somebody decides to outsource, I think the most important factor around here would be scale, right? Mm-hmm. Are you someone who's selling 5 items, 10 items today on a single platform? Maybe then outsourcing is not the answer for that, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're somebody who's going to sell, and I don't know, I'm just throwing some numbers here, but maybe at the scale of about 100 orders a day, your systems break. You're not able to handle this, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole activity of handling these tasks, be it fulfilling orders across multiple channels, packing them, shipping them, meeting the deadlines, and if some returns happen, managing that, managing the reconciliation with the marketplaces, there are a bunch of tasks that need to be done, right? So I think today, when you get to that stage, I think that's when, outsourcing makes a lot of sense, right? And there are a lot of toolkits that are available in the market. You can take a Unicommerce order management system. You could take a similar system from Shiprocket, or a combination of Unicommerce and Shiprocket, wherein you could do that. And then at the back end, somebody like a Delhivery provides you the core warehousing or the transportation services, right? So there is an ecosystem which is available today that will allow brands to actually use something which is plug and play, right? So I think scale for me is the most important thing when it comes to outsourcing. And coming to your question, what do brands typically ask us? Brands do come to us directly as well. And the first thing is around, we try to understand this, right? What's your scale? How many channels, right? Is it multiple channels? Do you have a, panel to manage that? Or are you going to, like, for example, there is somebody who has his own .com, there is an Amazon and a Flipkart. Are you going to be running multiple panels, or you want to use a single, system which will allow a common inventory to be made visible across different channels, right? So these are the things, typical questions that we also ask the customers, and they also have the same things in mind. What's the, the ideal state for any brand? Like, you have a common inventory, you can sell that inventory across multiple channels, right? So, I think that's the ultimate thing that anybody wants, because that gives a lot of benefits in terms of not duplicating the inventory, and also trying to get a bit of scale from a single partner who can enable this, right? So for me, I think the most important thing for any brand is always around whether we could actually enable fulfillment across multiple channels, and enable some of the things that we're going to talk about in terms of time-based or guaranteed deliveries. Take care of things end to end, right? Not just the the warehousing or the logistics aspect of it, but can you also help us? Some people ask us, can you help us on the listing side? Can you help us on reconciliation with the marketplaces, right? So yeah, I mean, I don't think there is a perfect solution out there which does everything, but I think the ecosystem is evolving towards a stage where most of these activities, or in fact all of these activities, can be provided by the outsource partner.
Absolutely. So coming to our next question, okay, and I would take this question again back to Raja. So specifically, we have seen our platform, right, and we have a lot of buyers or sellers who come to us and post an order is already allocated. They come and say that will you be helping us to deliver it tomorrow? And it's a very, very urgent order. It's kind of like medicine or something very important for their factory or manufacturing, and they want a 48 hours delivery or 28-hour delivery. And we see a lot of gap in terms of their understanding, that they think that it's kind of a plug and play. You ask it, you can get it, right? Whereas probably an order is moving from Delhi to an extreme south, like a Devangiri or a Calicut, right, in the surface mode, and it's virtually not possible. But we feel that the 1 day and 2 day delivery is extremely important. Coming to the COVID scenario, lot of essential movements happening, medicines, life-saving drugs. This is not only a enabler, it is it also helps in certain ways to reduce your cost of shipping at a scale, and it's an important enabler for customer delight. So how do 1 and 2 day delivery helps in overall your or go to market strategy, and in terms of your reducing cost, in terms of your customer delight, compared to a normal standard plug and play last mile delivery kind of a thing?
Got it. So let me start with first defining, what drives cost, right, in your fulfillment, right? Or, I would add the warehousing component also to it. It is, on the shipping side, it is basically the distance or the, the OD pair, as we call it, the origin destination pair, right? For example, a Bangalore to say, for instance, a Hyderabad will cost, say, something different from, say, maybe even a Mysore or a Cochin to Hyderabad. Some of these distances might be the same, but actually what is the origin location, what is the destination is something that that matters. The second thing is actually the volumetric weight of the shipment, right? That also determines the cost. And the third one is going to be the returns, right? What is your percentage of RTOs, like return to origin, wherein you go to the customer doorstep, customer is refusing to take the shipment, or he doesn't want it anymore, and you have to bring it back, right? So these are the things that actually impact our cost, right? So how can one day, 2 day delivery help you actually save this cost? Prima facie, when you look at the question, the first reaction could be that, look, I'm actually trying to offer a premium service. How can it ever be cheaper than a standard last mile delivery, right? But the way I would look at this is, and it's completely dependent on who you are as a seller and what are you selling and where is your demand coming from, right? For instance, if you're somebody like, for want of a better choice, I'm looking at somebody in a beauty personal care category who have a relatively smaller number of SKUs, and they have a decent demand coming in from across the country. Maybe you know what products are selling where, so basically you place your inventory in multiple locations across the country, which are closer to the consumption points. And then what you end up doing is, when you get orders, you are able to allocate the orders to the closest location, and you are able to convert the shipping. The example that you took, Indranil, from Delhi to Devanagari or whatever, maybe if you have that inventory in Bangalore, I could have done it much faster and at a much lower cost compared to this, right? So I think that's the first thing, where to place the inventory so that I'm converting most of my shipments, or movements into, short distance or, something which is not long distance, right? So that's one way, 1-2 day, and automatically you get 1-2 day delivery and the cost also comes down, right? I think the second most important thing I would say is, which is probably not really factored in appropriately by most companies, is your Rto rates, right?
Absolutely.
And I'll throw a very interesting stat from our network. I just pulled out some stats for this discussion. When you look at the RTOs happening on deliveries or delivery attempts done on the third day versus those done on the first day, they actually double, right? So let's say we have an X% RTO rate for deliveries attempted on day 1. By day 3, it goes to 2x, right? And typically RTO costs about, just as a thumb rule, 1.6 to 1.7 times your forward shipment cost. Now, if you can actually push most of your deliveries into 1 day and 2 day, you automatically reduce your RTO, and then your costs go down, right? And so I think that's where what we have started doing with some of these brands is we are building, using the intelligence that we have collected over a period of time, we are built these RTO predictors. I'm sure Unicommerce might also have some of these along with Shiprocket as well, wherein you look at certain variables in terms of who the customer is, based on a pin code or the phone number of the customer, this customer is more likely to return it, or certain things could be geo-specific, certain things could be product specific, right? So accordingly, you could, based on the input that you collect from the person who's ordering, you can actually, push something back to the seller saying that, look, here is the RTO score or likelihood of RTO. Then you could take a call on whether you want to ship it out to this customer. Maybe the answer could be that don't send it on COD, but actually do it on a prepaid model. That prepaid is the only option that is available, right? So that's how I think 1 day or 2 day delivery, using these 2 or 3 different methods, you could actually reduce the cost of last mile delivery.
Absolutely. And I think if your RTO rates gets reduced, there is a high chance that the shipment is getting delivered on the first attempt itself. So that also impacts a lot in your last mile delivery cost improvisation.
Exactly. Yep.
Absolutely.
And just to add to what Raja was saying, that not just on Rto rates, what we are also hearing from D2C brands is that the customers have become so demanding that they, even in fashion category, they're saying that we want deliveries in 1 or 2 days. If the order goes to the third day, they just cancel the order. So you're also losing out on revenue, not just optimizing on costs. So I think it's becoming a norm. Any non-essential category, fashion, we would have never imagined it. Fashion is something typically, unless it's like an urgent thing that if you go to a party or something, that they would typically wait for it, and that was the scenario until last year. But this year we are hearing that customers just end up canceling. They have just so many options available now that it is becoming a hygiene factor to do these 1 day, 2 day deliveries.
Absolutely, and there are a lot of the newbies of fashion startups coming up. I suppose you have an example of a Poshmark in US and all, which they do. Like you are going for a party or something, you need a branded like kind of a cloth or something of that sort. You just order it and they give it to you by next day. You wear it and then probably within 2 days you return it back to them. Goes to another customer. Great. So coming to question number 3 of the day. So it says, how is 1 day 2 day delivery carried out effectively, and how can 3PL fulfillment companies provide 1 day and 2 day deliveries in a sophisticated infrastructure? So this I suppose mostly correlates to what we had discussed a few minutes back with Raja. So I would ask like if Kapil could throw some light from a tech perspective, because I suppose there's a lot which happens which is not visible to the front end, right? Which is the tech out of it, right? Even if I need to plan out how am I going to keep the inventory in the warehouse, there has to be a logic for keeping it, right? So that when I'm picking up those SKUs, I use the shortest possible path or the shortest possible time to pick it up, to ensure my 1 or 2 deliveries. If I need to prioritize a few pin code, or prioritize a particular courier, or prioritize a particular set of my premium customers, I need to have some kind of back-end knowledge. So tech is the be all and end all. So coming from that industry which enables this, could you throw some light in terms of how does this broad question?
Sure. We touched upon it in the first question itself. So you're right. The tech part starts right from capturing the order. So Raja touched upon this, that if you're stocking inventory at closest location to the customer, and now we are, especially post-COVID since last year, we are seeing a lot of demand from customers going omni-channel. At least those who can, like those who are already at offline store presence. A lot of brands are now asking for it. So the first tech intervention that happens is, can I allocate the order to the nearest store if I have an offline store, or can I, amongst the D2C brands, they were pre-COVID, they were always operating on a single warehouse because it is easier to manage. But now while they're outsourcing their operations, their biggest driver is that they want to become from a single warehouse to multi-warehouse and be closest to the customer, especially in these uncertain times. So the first tech intervention is that, can I allocate the order basis intelligence, whether it's pin code, inventory availability in case of a store operating timings. The store is not functional on Sunday, the order should not be allocated there. In terms of the capacity, they don't want the store to handle more than 10 or 15 orders a day. So these nuances built in to allocate the order. After the order has come in, to fulfill the order, some of the optimizations that you mentioned, once it is landed to a warehouse, which is the nearest shelf should I go to? How do I optimize my pick path? How do I again do the picking basis the logistics providers or other such algorithms that I mentioned? So that's the second. And third is finally, which delivery provider should I be choosing? This is the coverage, cost, time, all these factors. So pin code serviceability, contract logistics, which obviously Shiprocket is an expert in doing that. So throwing an intelligent allocation engine so that they can figure out the right logistics engine. So the tech needs to enable all these things. You're right. There's a lot of hard work that goes behind it. And once that is in place, I think enabling it in 1 or 2 days becomes easier. And that's where outsourcing helps, because a lot of these large scale players have done this at large scale, have got the right tech stack already in place, and hence they are able to do this much faster. And also have presence in multiple locations, even in remote locations like Northeast, etc. There are fulfillment centers that are opening up. For a brand, it may not make sense to open up a dedicated warehouse for themselves. They could just outsource that part of orders to a third-party provider. In fact, I'm now hearing brands experimenting with 3-4 such outsourced fulfillment providers for each zone. They are keeping different providers because they just want to see which works better. Some have got cost advantage, some have got fulfillment timing advantage, some have got others. So that's another model. There's an aggregator of fulfillment providers that's now coming up in the market. But net, I think those are the things that we've seen from a tech intervention perspective that have been really helpful for brands to achieve 1-day, 2-day delivery.
Again, this is a very, very ops specific question. So I would like to have Raja's thoughts around it. So from a warehousing perspective, right? A 1-day, 2-day delivery in its prioritization. So it has to be a cycle which runs 24 hours, right? Kind of like a 24/7 warehouse where you run 3 shifts, 4 shifts, kind of a scenario where you have pickups aligned with the third-party partners, third-party carriers, probably 6-7 times a day, whereby prioritized orders gets picked up at a particular point of time. So a lot of operational SOPs and processes get driven in a very seamless, needs to be driven in a very seamless way to ensure the end objective of that 24-hour window or a 48-hour window is adhered to. So what would be your thought process in terms of what goes around in the operations part of it?
Got it. So I think internally, how I would start this is, I think we have the benchmark with Amazon, right? All of us, I presume, are customers on Amazon. You go select a Prime, you go there, and then you can, for a specific category that you want to buy, then you get a message saying that order within the next X number of hours, you will get it by so-and-so, right? And the way this works is all their systems are closely tied in, their order taking platform, the warehouse management system, and the transportation network that they have designed, right? So basically, if you want to deliver to a customer by this particular date, you work backwards from there, wherein you say that I need to have a shipment at a particular last mile center by a certain time, right? And then from there, I need to have brought it to that city, within a certain amount of time, and then I should have done the pickup from the warehouse by this time, right? And then you go further backward. I should have, if I get an order if I need to hand over the shipment by, a certain time, let's say 8 o'clock in the night, then the warehouse should know that I should have picked the item and packed it by 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. in the night, right? So everything works backwards, right? So the way all of this works is we have, what we call as the ship by date, right? So when an order is punched in the system, the warehouse operator actually knows that this order needs to be handed over to the courier by this time, right? So all he works on is when he works for multiple clients inside the warehouse, he basically looks at the ship by date and prioritizes his picking based on the ship by date. Right? Now, then the obvious question comes is, I always have a finite amount of capacity in a given warehouse. I can't offer the same ship by date to every order that comes in, because there are always days when you have, let's say, for example, 4x the quantum of orders. Now, you can't do that, right? So how we manage this is we give capacities upfront to our partners saying that, look, for this particular ship by date time slot, I have so much capacity, right? And the moment I hit that capacity, basically I relay information back to them saying that my capacity is exhausted. And in their order taking as well, then, they start revising the messages to the customer saying that now you need to order by tomorrow, you'll get it, day after tomorrow, right? So all of these systems need to be, closely tied in. And one other aspect, you touched upon warehousing, just one couple of minutes on the transportation side as well. I think the way this is also working today is, it's not just an end-to-end model where I need to be running the warehouse and the transportation in order to do this. It can also be just the transport alone, right? So today, for some of our customers, we offer this service where, the cutoffs are defined upfront. Look, you may run your own warehouse, but as long as you hand over to me by this time, I can always, deliver to you within this promise, right? So something like that can be offered. The way I see this can work is, either directly or through aggregator platforms. Services such as these can be white labeled and can be used by brands, on their websites. They could actually start offering Amazon or Prime type experience to the customers. Then basically there is a stronger pull for customers to actually come to their direct websites and buy versus, buying from a multi, or like a marketplace like an Amazon or a Flipkart.
Absolutely. So absolutely agree with you, Raja, because see, at the end of the day, information is probably the most important thing out here, right? Because there's information which is flowing from the CRM side of it, the customer punching the order, then this information goes into the fulfillment part of it, then there's the last mile activity which is happening. So how soon that information and how correctly and accurately that information passes across all those different layers is of utmost importance in ensuring the final output of having a 48 hours or a 24 hours delivery. And I suppose platforms like technologies platforms like Shiprocket is enabling that process actually in terms of providing the technology layer. So
Right.
Coming to the fourth question. So this is again as specific to marketing and the branding perspective of D2C brands. I think a lot of D2C brands would be interested in terms of knowing what kind of added advantage that can bring into their visibility and traction in terms of having repeat purchases from customers. So I would first throw this question to Siddhant, and then I will take it to Anshuk. So how do you see, Siddhant, this is becoming a talk of the day for niche brands, probably trying to develop a clientele of niche buyers, premium products. What is the advantage in terms of having this 48 hours or a 28 hours delivery window for them? Siddhant, you are on mute.
Yeah. So I think Raja covered it really nicely, right? Like he made a direct comparison to the promise that you make to your consumer and how say an Amazon or a marketplace is doing a good job of fulfilling on it, right? So all brands are in the business of making that promise, right? And either that promise is kept or it's not, right? So when you're talking about a 1 to 2 day delivery, you're giving that surety to the buyer, right? When he comes to your website that, hey, I will get this product within that certain time. That I think is a massive differentiator. And that becomes increasingly important, especially because in India, if you see, there are so many retail events that happen during which there is a massive spike up or a down in terms of purchase volume. So today, if you look at an Amazon and you're getting the same product, for example, if I was to buy a Man and Company shampoo, and it's a Shopify brand and it's also available on Amazon, and say it was 2 days before Diwali and it's a gift that you want to give to someone. If you were able to get that surety from the brand website with complete integration end to end, you would be comfortable buying from there. But if you weren't, then you would probably go back to a reliable sort of environment where okay, you know what, I'm going to get this. So it's very important to first start making that promise. Like I say that to brands, because if you don't make that promise, you're definitely not going to win. And once you've made the promise, it's very important to make sure that you're fulfilling it and integrate as much as you can. Ours e-commerce platform which you can come and set up your store on, and you can also build a lot of custom apps. We have a very direct integration with Shiprocket, and you can definitely fulfill that journey if you go the extra mile to make sure that happens. I urge all brands to do that, just because I think it makes a massive difference.
Absolutely. Now taking it to Anshuk, so most of the D2C brands are coming into the space of premium products, right? Where I think Siddhant has taken the name of Man and Company. There is Bombay Shopping Company, McAfee. They're targeting a particular set of clientele, and that clientele is very, very demanding, as we understand, right? And they are a regular buyer in Amazon or a Flipkart. So D2C brands catering to that niche clientele needs to develop their own USPs, right? Because at a marketplace level, they get a very commoditized kind of an USP experience for their buyers. The branding and aspect of the repeat purchase is mostly driven by the market. the marketplace itself. Now the brands, when they're selling it to themselves, they develop their own persona, and they want to take it to that persona and build on that persona for their niche client. They do a lot of marketing through your platform, the online marketing. How much attractive it would be for those brands to display their banner ads or a click-throughs, in terms of when they give them some definite information that you buy this product, you get it in the next 24 hours. How much does it improve their click-through conversions or on the click itself? So could you throw some light on that part of?
Absolutely. So 2 points I'll talk about. Okay. Number one, if you look at DTC brands today, a very good share of their sales comes from Facebook and Instagram. Right? On an average, I think 60 to 70% for most brands. For some apparel brands, it might be as high as 80 to 90%. Okay. Now, a lot of us may not be aware that there is a metric called Facebook page feedback score. They need to adhere to their promises. Okay. So what happens is, after every buys a product, seeing your Facebook ad, clicks on the ad, goes to your DTC website and makes a purchase, Facebook runs a survey with them. Okay. And asks them these questions: that did you get the product which you were expecting? Did you get the product in the same timeline which you were expecting? And a couple of other points regarding the quality of the product. Okay. Now, one key question here is, did you get the delivery on time? Okay. And what we have seen is, for brands who are able to offer like a 1 day, 2 day, or a faster delivery, the page feedback score, at least this component of the page feedback score, is much higher. Okay. And just to give you some more context, this score is out of 5. Okay. 4 and above is considered as really good. Okay. Below 2, Facebook penalizes the brand. Okay. And penalizes in the sense of increased CPM. CPM is cost of Facebook ads. So we have seen brands who also have a 20, 30, 40% penalty on cost of ads. Okay. And below 1, the brand is barred from advertising on Facebook. Okay. So just to add to the point, I think Raja mentioned a very good point where he said, look, 3 key benefits you get in terms of cost if you offer a 1 day, 2 day delivery. I'll add probably a 4th benefit to it, that you can actually get lower cost of your Facebook ads if you are able to offer a faster delivery period. Right? So that's a direct impact on marketing. You get cheaper cost, which means you're able to reach out to more people if you have a faster delivery. I know it sounds very counterintuitive, but we are in a world where Facebook essentially has a monopoly. So absolutely, I think the brands have to comply with that.
Absolutely. And the overall advantage of having a higher repeat purchase. So that's the undeniability of how premium brands should scale up, right? So yeah. So that's the I suppose we have 5th question. Yeah. So I think we had touched upon this part of it to a great extent. Raja, I think we discussed about the RTO part of it, and this is more relating to that part. So overall, to say right now, a lot of D2C brands. Let me just modulate this question a little bit further. So a lot of new customer acquisitions, probably a smaller D2C brands working into more commoditized kind of a product, selling a mobile cover or of that sort, happens in tier 3 and tier 4 cities, because that's how the new customer base is developing over the coming days, right? And obviously those new transactions or new customers which are coming in are mostly on COD and not on prepaid. They move into prepaid once they have the confidence on that brand, on the confidence on the mode itself. And COD tier 2, tier 3 cities, we have a lot of issues out there in terms of sales returns. So in certain cities, we have seen geographies, the COD rate, irrespective of the product or for a certain set of categories, could be as high as probably 40 or 45%, and probably for some sectors of it, these are as low as 10%. So how does going for an end-to-end 3PL fulfillment service from every aspect of it, right? It could be the time of it, and it could be the way the packaging has been packed, right? I, as a customer who is getting into an online platform for the first time, getting a product on a COD, I get a decently packed product. I have a high confidence of taking it, right? And there is a because I there would be a lesser probability of any pilferage or anything of that sort. So how does all those things inferences build into making the 3PL fulfillment service impacting the overall delivery perspective? I would take it again, take up this question with Raja, because if you could throw some light on it.
Yeah, Indranil, I think we covered this over the previous questions. But once the decision to outsource is taken, I think there are 2-3 things here. One is, how soon can I pack and dispatch? Because in a lot of these cases, even I've been a consumer myself. When I go to, say, a Facebook, Instagram, or buy from a direct.com, sometimes it takes even 3 days for them to pack and dispatch, right? And that's because they might be running a very small scale operation and they're dependent on 1 or 2 people turning up to work and doing that, right? So starting from something very as simple as managing the pickpack operation, right? And then the handling of the overall experience of the customer, right? For example, you might have picked, packed, and dispatched, but then the customer is not happy with the product. The customer, there was an RTO, for instance, right? And that entire experience that the customer goes through, right? That then, if the customer does not have a good experience, there is a negative word of mouth that goes around, and then it impacts your brand, right? So I think that is where I think, given that the market of service providers has actually evolved, I think there is a lesser risk going for when you have the right scale. Outsourcing this operation to somebody has lesser risk, and it improves your quality. As you said, there is a certain standardization that you could do when it comes to, say, packaging. People are trained, they're paid to do a certain job, they continue doing that. So there is a certain quality, and the synergy between the warehousing and the courier part. Once that is there, I think you will avoid a lot of delays that happens in handover. For example, if you're somebody who's doing 5 orders a day or 10 orders a day, and the courier partner, and you have also decided to allocate your orders to 2 different courier partners. Now he has to visit your pickup location just to pick up these 10 boxes and 5 each, right? Now it may so happen that on a given beat, this is so small that they're okay to not pick it today and pick it tomorrow because they don't have the bandwidth, right? But that's what you avoid when you keep your inventory in a warehouse which works for multiple clients, right? Because the courier comes, whether you are a 2-order customer or a 200-order customer, as long as the warehouse has done the picking and packing, it's handed over to the courier, right? So I think from a time, the end-to-end fulfillment time perspective as well, if you have the right scale and if outsourcing is the right option for you, I think then going for an end-to-end model makes more sense than breaking it into to 2 different parts.
Absolutely. And I suppose there is a lot of space out there whereby a new brand which comes in, which does not have that kind of a customer trust at the initial level, if they have some kind of a third-party trust, right? For example, a Shiprocket can create a layer of trust around it, and they see that the item was fulfilled via the Shiprocket process, for example, and that actually builds that trust for them to have a higher acceptance of the order, or it could be trust at the layers of, right? For example, if I don't like the product, I know this is coming through a particular organized fulfillment platform. There's a lesser probability of any pilferage or any incorrect item being shipped, and I also have a process of returning it back through the similar process, right? I can get back to the customer support, I can talk to them, and I can say that I'm not happy with the product for this reason, and I can return it back to that process, right? So that overall building the layer of trust, which will enable the D2C industry in terms of gaining a lot of traction in the initial days, because trust is one of the important thing, probably is which takes a lot of time to build. So, yeah, coming to the last question. So again, this is again more of an open sort of question. I'll take it to Anshuk. So why it is becoming more important for D2C brands to offer faster deliveries? We have touched upon it. Just the ending thoughts, I would say, from your side, and how will this help the emerging D2C brands and the competitive markets, like which are like largely controlled by bigger marketplaces like Amazon and Flipkart. So what would be your thoughts around it?
Right, absolutely. See, one of the common things we have seen in marketing is you have to, and I'm talking from a marketing perspective, one of the common things we see is you have to set the right expectations in the ad copy, and you have to match them on the website, and then you have to also match them once the order is placed. Okay. So in marketing, it's called as message match. Okay, what you see on the ad copy is what you get on the website, and eventually this is what you get delivered to your house. Okay. So it becomes extremely important for brands today to, number one, set the right expectations, not only of their product quality, right? We see that in the ad copy, everybody talks about the product quality, right? I have the most softest, let's say, cloth, or probably the most effective shampoo, right? But for an e-commerce brand, product is not the only thing they are selling, right? Delivery and the timeliness of delivery is a very big part of the entire customer experience. So what brands need to do is they need to include delivery timelines or delivery expectations also on the ad copy, especially if they have a 1 day, 2 day, or a faster delivery. We have seen that helps them in increasing the click rates. Of course, people want products to be delivered faster. We have also seen that faster delivery helps them get higher conversion rates on the website, because there are several cases where people might go to the website, realize that, look, this product is only getting delivered in, let's say, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days timeline, and drop off. And this is something which we saw for a specific brand we used to work with. They were selling essential products in the sanitary pads category. They had a 7-day delivery timeline. And we saw that when they reduced the delivery timeline from 7 day to 5 day, the conversion rates increased by up to 10 to 15%. Right? So for a brand today, a 1 day, 2 day delivery is not only a big, I would say, USP on the logistics side. What we need to understand is it also impacts your marketing campaigns in terms of lower CPM I spoke about. It also impacts your website conversion rates. So your 1 day, 2 day delivery is impacting everything end to end, right? And the brand needs to realize that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, yeah. So, Siddhant, your thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to actually, and I will share this report that Shopify came up with recently. I think it's very relevant to this. There's a Future of Commerce report that we released in early 2021, and one of the trends in there was around fulfillment, right, and it being a key differentiator. So this, like, again, the importance of this topic is unquestionable, right? Like, and something, and within the fulfillment experience, right, there were like a few different things that customers are becoming increasingly picky, choosy, or you can say their needs and demands are increasing, right? Over the last 10 years, we know everyone started buying online. So it's no longer a new experience as much. So one of the things that came up right on top was it has to be fast, right? So undeniable that we need to do faster deliveries. And if you compare today D2C brands to, say, an Amazon, we know on average Amazon delivers in 2 days, and D2C brands, and these are global numbers, these are not India numbers alone. So, and D2C brands on average deliver an order in 4 days, right? So it's almost double. So there's a big opportunity for D2C brands right there. But what becomes very important to look at is also the variance in these numbers. When you look at the variance for an Amazon, it's half day to 4 days. But when you look at the variance for a D2C brand, that number changes from 2 to 8 days. That's why when a consumer is buying, he is thinking of the worst case, which is 8 days. Or the uncertainties. That's why it's very important for merchants to invest into fulfillment. That's why it's very important for them to get services like Shiprocket, services like Unicommerce. Invest very rightly with the experts in the marketing front like Adyogi. Invest with Delhivery to be their fulfillment partners, right? Like, and really rely on the experts to close this gap, right? Some of the other things that I want to also bring up that came up in the fulfillment piece were branding is a big piece and it's a big opportunity. I know there are a bunch of panel experts here who can vouch for brands now asking them to customize the delivery experience, right? In terms of what the box looks like when it reaches them. Sustainability was a big piece that came up that, hey, there is no excess packaging material. It is secure from a pilferage perspective, but it is also, sustainable. Like last but not the least, we are in the middle of a pandemic, so contactless / safety is a big aspect to delivery as well. So just want to call these out that if there are D2C brands out here on this, I'm sure there are, but anybody who's looking to start or is already in that journey, definitely have a look at the report and invest in your fulfillment services.
Sure. Coming to a few of the question from our viewers, I seem to have an interesting question if I've got it right. So Lalit asks, how will fulfillment warehousing help the multi-vendor e-commerce? And there are so many vendors, how will they stock up at all of these warehouses? So I suppose this is a problem. See, we have a use case at our end also. We see a lot of brands which are actually smaller marketplaces in themselves, right? And they do a marketplace shipping. They do approximately say 1,000 shipments per day, whereas they use a 50 different locations or 10 different locations in certain cases to do their shipping from. And obviously at such a smaller scale and such a distributed marketplace kind of a thing, the driving operational performance and customer delight becomes a lot of challenge out there. And what would be your suggestions? And I suppose there will be a lot of people out there, viewers out there, who would be very much interested in this question. How would you suggest that they can utilize the technology and the fulfillment services or the third-party services to ensure a seamless experience to their end user? I would take it up with Kapil first, and then I'll come to Raja.
I was about to pitch in. That's a very common use case that we come across. So one is the use case that you highlighted, that websites are getting converted into marketplaces. They may not have very high order volume, but there are 50 vendors in different locations. How do we manage the operational metrics? The second use case is what I mentioned, that D2C brands are now talking to 4 different fulfillment providers. North is being taken care of by someone else, South being someone else. How do they centralize the operation and maintain operational effectiveness? Again, I can only speak from a technology perspective. So from a tech perspective, for the first use case, there is a solution like, for example, we have in their other providers as well for dropship panel, wherein their website can be easily converted into a marketplace, and each of the vendors get a panel for them to upload their inventory, or it can be linked to their ERP, whatever they're using, so that at least they have full visibility on what the inventory available is. The central marketplace, the central department has the full visibility on where inventory is, how the order allocation can happen, etc. Plus, there are intelligent analytics that are provided in terms of forecasting, etc. That how many days of inventory is lying with them, should they be stocking up more? So those decisions can be taken. The bigger problems lies in when a D2C brand is actually working with 4 different providers, and I'm not sure if the question was actually referring to that. In that case, having a central tech becomes a problem. What the market is now evolving and even the competitors are also collaborating, where let's say there are 2 different pieces of tech that are operating in 2 different warehouses. Now they are getting integrated now, so that the brand can have a centralized view on what's happening. So they are optimizing locally on each of those fulfillment center locations, and central visibility for them to take a call at an overall level. The competitors or the different providers, whether it's the fulfillment providers who are competing amongst each other, are also collaborating, and even the tech providers like us are also collaborating for them to have seamless visibility. So I think that is something that we are seeing. So one is obviously getting full visibility on the inventory and order allocation, and second is having these analytics to predict inventory. Obviously, with these uncertain scenarios, some of these forecasting may not be fully accurate, but at least it covers 80% of the use cases and helps them plan their inventory better.
So what would be your Raja? What would be your thoughts around it?
I think if I understand the question right, when it comes to say the operational aspect of it, if you are a seller and you have inventory stored across multiple warehouses, first and foremost, I think there's always a concern around, is my inventory safe or is it kept in the right manner? And then if you, depending on the product category, you may want to follow, first in, first out logic, right? So that my products don't expire, right? And whatever returns are coming back, I want them to be handled appropriately, right? I mean, that's the whole purpose of outsourcing it to someone, right? I think first and foremost, while using the services of some other third party, there needs to be a trust established in terms of, this is the minimum quality standard that they're going to follow, and these are the basic processes that they're going to follow, right? So once that trust is there, and that's an important input when it comes to selection of whom they want to work with, right? And then secondly, as Kapil said, there are tools available to help you decide where to place your inventory. Once you're comfortable with the model, for example, if I take a delivery or any other, any other service provider for that matter, I think you will find some kind of a uniform setup everywhere. Whether I'm running a warehouse for you in Delhi or Bombay or Bangalore, the processes are same because we follow a similar technology platform to run our operations, right? So then it's about whether you want to take the decisions around moving your inventory. Like the way Amazon does today is when they do the fulfill by Amazon model, you just send the inventory and then Amazon decides where to place your inventory.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
And then they charge you for that, right? I think for D2C as well, it's going to evolve into that model wherein the tech platforms are going to help customers decide or the sellers decide where to keep the inventory. It could be still be optional wherein we'll give you the recommendations, you decide where to place, or you could just tell me that, look, I pay you for everything, why don't you decide and manage it, right? In case you end up incurring a higher cost, that's your problem, but I'm giving you the keys to this, why don't you go ahead and do it, right? I think that's where D2C, I think D2C is already evolving there, but I think in the next immediate future, I see this scaling up in a big way.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. I suppose, Lalit, that answers your question to a great extent. And just to chip in from my side, right? And we have seen that this is a important use case whereby a smaller marketplace kind of an organization shipping from 10, 20 different kind of locations generally face problem in terms of ensuring a seamless operations flow. And I suppose a tech layer like what the Shiprocket provides with respect to its fulfillment can help you in that sense. Probably see if you see the demand is pretty normalized pan India, whereas the supply is clusterized. What I have seen, the supply generally is Gujarat or a Punjab or a Bombay or a Tirupur kind of a situation when the demand is pan India. So you probably if you are having 10 or 20 different smaller vendors at your end, you have different processes. You can place it across India in different micro warehouses. Shiprocket provides help in terms of recommendation also to a certain extent. It can help you recommend where to place which SKUs to a great extent in terms of the demand supply mapping and the cost optimization. And there are different models around it. You can have a sales on return kind of a scenario where you associate with your vendors, and there is a cost which is only incurred when the item is being sold out, right? So I hope that answers your query to a certain extent. I see you another query out there, which is the cost of stocking inventory in Shiprocket. I am happy to tell you that I think the first 1 month is absolutely free for you if you are coming. And then we have the cost is modeled out with respect to the kind of SKU that you have at your end, whether it is a jewelry or whether it is an apparel. You in the soft lines, do you it's a jacket or it's a pullover or it's a small t-shirt. Everything is at a volumetric level, or the tag weight, whichever is higher. So you would be charged accordingly, and our costs are very competitive. I would say like extremely competitive, because we are deeply coupled with our service providers like deliveries and other service providers that we have, and we have the best cost for you. So I would say you can immediately connect with one of our salesperson, and he would guide you in terms of the cost. And again, you can absolutely try it out. The first 1 month is free for your stock. So again, coming back to the overall theme, right? So I think we are like absolutely, I think, on dot on time. So we had a very uh, interesting session today, and uh, probably last before we sign off, I would ask your views with respect to, I think a lot of queries would be there with respect to COVID and the essential and non-essential categories and cities and states getting into lockdown. If everybody can throw a little bit of light for our viewers out there in terms of, because they have an anxiety, or if they want to do a marketing right now, if this is the right time to do a marketing, do they want to ship a non-essential into an probable essential kind of a zone that the state government has declared. So I would start with Anshuk from a marketing perspective of it, and then probably the overall panel can chip in with respect to that part.
Absolutely. Thanks, Indranil. I think on the marketing front, this is something which we just have been observing the trend. We saw this last year during lockdown also. Generally, as lockdown situation arises or lockdown happens, we have seen that the cost of ads on all digital platforms like Facebook and Google significantly comes down. In the last 10 days, we have seen for several of our brands, the cost of ads has come down by 10 to 20% for most of them. And for a few of them, it has come down by as high as 30 to 40% as well. So if you are able to manage the logistics, which means your deliveries are happening, your RTO percentages are not increasing, then we highly recommend brands to continue marketing. There is enough traction coming from the consumers. We have seen that brands which are continuing are actually getting better efficiencies purely because of lower costs. So recommended to continue the marketing ads. Obviously, the caveat here is you're able to manage your logistics and the RTO percentages.
Absolutely. So, Indranil, if I can just add to this, right? Just some interesting stats. Pre-COVID, which is Jan, Feb, March, we had about 39% of our entire shipments in our network getting delivered in 1 to 2 days. Of course, it's also a result of the kind of mix we have in terms of where we deliver. If I'm delivering from Bangalore to Northeast, of course, it will fall into the 4th or 5th day. But still, right, it's indicative of the overall demand in the market. Even now, it's the same. It's dropped a little bit due to the current lockdown situation. But what you can see is that at an overall level, more than a third of the e-commerce demand that is fulfilled by us is getting delivered on 1 day and 2 days, right? Now that's where the market is heading. So as Anshuk said, I think there will be some minor setbacks, and it will probably be a little more localized. Like I have a problem today at Delhi and Bombay tomorrow. Maybe it will expand to 10-20 different cities, but I think at an overall level, this trend is only likely to go up, right? And interesting thing is also the categories, right? Some of the categories which have a relatively higher share of 1 or 2 day deliveries are around the health, beauty, personal care, baby care, grocery, books, and stationery. And there are some surprising categories like footwear, for instance, right? Even toys and games are getting fulfilled in 1-2 days, which also indicates that people are at home and they want products to be delivered faster to them, right? But some of the other stuff, for example, your laptops and some of the fashion goods, it's okay. I mean, maybe you're okay with a 3-day, 4-day delivery, but there are categories which are more common with respect to getting delivered in 1-2 days, right? So I think as a trend, it's going towards that, and companies should continue to focus on that.
Absolutely. So Siddhant, your parting thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I think very similar to Raja. This is it's a COVID is real. It is happening, and the country is going through a second wave. So we are all facing the impacts of that. Whether you're a consumer sitting in a city or a merchant who's running his business, everyone will feel some sort of disruption in the short term. In terms of like the overall impact though of COVID, like needless to say, there's been a drastic change over the last year in terms of online consumption. So this channel has has benefited, I would say, out of the pandemic. And in fact, online consumption moved forward by almost 10 years last year, right? So I think while there will be hiccups in the near term, it is a very important channel where you need to keep investing. Especially if you're a direct-to-consumer brand, then you need to use this time to reach out to your consumers in an empathetic manner with the right kind of products, with the right kind of delivery promises, it's here to stay, online consumption, whether we like it or not. There might be merchants who've been depending on offline primarily. So it's time to make that pivot if you've not.
Absolutely. Kapil, your parting thoughts?
Yeah, I think I echo sentiments shared by everyone. I think last year we saw a lot of businesses, a lot of push on digitization. I think it's going to increase multifold this year given the ramifications, the impact that the second wave is having. We had seen a lot of businesses who were on the fringes even after the last year's wave, thinking that whether they should invest in e-commerce. Now we are seeing them inquiring about what needs to be done. So if there is a possibility, I think this is a time to be investing in your digital and online businesses. Anshuk is rightly pointing out the costs of running an online business come down during this time. And if this is the best time for you to be setting up when the actual wave comes up, as in when the actual demand picks up. And this time, interestingly, we've not seen as much as a drop as we'd seen last year because it was national lockdown last year. We've seen probably a 10-15% drop so far in the overall volume compared to when the second wave started. And as Raja mentioned, it's still local. So I think we are not seeing as much impact. So there is a lot of readiness. Brands should be, we are also recommending the brands that we're touching to be investing in marketing at this stage, because consumers will have to shop, right? There'll be greater fear on shopping offline now. And we saw a 5 to 10 year push last year. Probably this year it's going to be even more significant. So the share of online is definitely going to increase. So this is a time to be investing for sure. While the orders may be going up and down right now, but I think it's going to definitely reap dividends in the next 2 to 3 months and the rest of the year as well.
Absolutely. And I had a very good time discussing with the panel out here. And this and I suppose in a way everybody out there in the panel and the organizations that they represent is in a way a fighter in this pandemic, right? And we are enabling the complete chain of it, whether it is delighting the customer in this time of stressful need in terms of ensuring the product that he needs, he gets it, and there is a delight out there out of all those noises happening, and or whether it is something which is essential he needs or life-saving he needs and delivering it on time. And then most importantly, probably keeping the economy ticking, right? Keeping the consumption ticking. Well, that's probably the important thing out of it, where online becomes a very, very important thing right now, when probably there could be a downward trend in the economy itself. And the online itself becomes a saver in a way to keep on driving the consumption in India. So again, thanks a lot. Huge thank you from our viewers, from our Shiprocket team. We had a very, very interesting discussion today, and probably we'll continue having webinars in the coming days and have you in our platform. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.